The devastating effect that the loss of wetlands induces extends far beyond human well-being, but directly affects the environment and biodiversity. As the human population continues to grow, our needs and demands continue with it. We rely on many goods and services that are provided to us by wetlands, but we fail to see beyond our needs and acknowledge the strain that this puts on wetlands. Wetlands are abundant in biological resources, including all manner of plant and animal life, down to the smallest of microorganisms that are all essential to the environment and human development and survival. There has been much human interference in wetlands and the processes that they require to sustain themselves. This has increased the rate of wetland loss across the globe significantly. The Low Bidgie floodplain, located in southeastern Australia, is the Murrumbidgee River's main wetland. In the early 1900s, this wetland expanded over more than 300,000 hectares. Since then, at least 3/4 of this has been lost, with nearly 20% of this a direct consequence of the degradation that is caused by dams, development, and diversions in water flow for farming. This is an enormous loss in wetlands, and this has had serious effects on the area that was once rich in biodiversity. It is estimated that waterbird numbers alone have declined by at least 90% over a 20-year period. This would indicate a decrease in the aquatic organisms that make up their diet. These losses in biodiversity are a clear indicator of the ecological consequences that water resource development has and the negative effects on wetlands as a result. This graph shows the observed loss of wetlands in a sample of 1,000 sites globally between 1970 and 2008. The greatest loss is apparent in Europe and Asia. In Europe alone, between 2000 and 2006, 35% of these changes in wetlands was a result of conversion to agriculture, while 49% was due to forest creation. Water sustains life and is one of the most crucial resources found on Earth. This puts it in very high demand. It's vital for the sustainability of wetlands, but is also essential for food production and furthermore, human survival. As water is so important, there is typically a debate between sustaining wetlands and clearing for food production, and as history has shown, the balance tends to tip towards food production, with little thought as to the effect it will have on wetlands. Finding the balance between the two can be somewhat of a sensitive topic, as it directly impacts human survival and the livelihood of many people. I definitely believe there needs to be a lot more effort put into sustainable water resource management and development, because as it stands in its current state, it will continue to erode natural wetlands, and the rate of decline of wetlands and the subsequent biodiversity will continue exponentially. Although there has been an increase in the attention wetlands receive in recent years, it isn't enough to allow wetlands to remain self-sustainable systems. As climate change becomes more and more of a threat and sea levels continue to rise, the importance of wetlands rises with it to alleviate some of the climatic stresses that we face and mitigate the effects. But even with the scientific, economic, and even recreational value of wetlands, they still face destruction and degradation. A little over 40 years ago, wetlands were finally recognised for their value, and nations came together to form a framework for their protection and sustainable use. This was called the Ramsar Convention, and is an international treaty to protect wetlands and their unique services and ecological functions, such as water regulation and the habitat they provide for a range of biodiversity. The main goal of the treaty is the sustainable use of wetlands, and their mission statement is the conservation and wise use of all wetlands through local, regional, and national actions and international cooperation as a contribution towards achieving sustainable development throughout the world. The Ramsar Convention is unique, as it is the only global environmental treaty that is associated with a specific ecosystem. The Earth is 4.5 billion years old, and while the modern form of humans has only been around for about 200,000 years. Furthermore, industrialization only started in the 1800s. And what have we done in that time? We're using resources at a rate that isn't sustainable and find ourselves constantly moving backwards, stuck in a loop of what we define as progress. But what we see as progress, the environment sees as destruction. We attempt to move forward with little focus on tomorrow. We need to shake the idea that wetlands are dirty areas that are only home to waterborne infectious diseases, and realize the relationship between wetlands and the well-being of all forms of life, and how valuable they really are. We need to shake the idea that wetlands are dirty areas and only home to waterborne infectious diseases.